Thank you. It's amazing to be here, to be learning about all this neuro stuff, which is exciting and new for me. I want to tell you about the work we've been doing in my lab building sensors, building magnetic field sensors, and exploring how they might be useful for magnetoencephalography. So, as people have said already at this meeting, MEG is amazing. MEG is a great technique for getting out brain data non-invasively. It's better than EEG because the signals don't get blurred as they're coming out of the brain because your flesh isn't very magnetic at all. And state of the art for a long time was these, as we were hearing yesterday from Peter, the state of the art for a long time has been these squid MEG systems, and they work quite well, but they require this big container of liquid helium over your head, so that's not really going to be a consumer device. Excitingly, recently, companies like Circa have pioneered OPM MEG. This is optically pumped magnetometers. These operate at about 100 degrees C, which is a little bit warm on your head, but is way easier than this fixed cryostat system. And so that lets people move around and have hundreds of channels, hundreds of sensors on their head for magnetoencephalography. As you can see, though, these OPM systems still need a magnetically shielded room. These rooms weigh several tons, and so it's not really useful outside of those specific locations. So what's exciting to me is to move towards better sensors, and I think that solid-state sensors are the way to go. I can give you a quick intuition about why that is. In these OPMs, then there are individual atoms in a gas that are sensing the magnetic field. There's like a 3 millimeter size vessel holding this gas, and all the atoms inside are sensing magnetic field. In a solid, you can have orders and orders of magnitude more atoms in the same volume. And so you can have 1,000 times or 100 million times more atoms in the same volume with a solid. And so this is a route to better sensitivity, which is, sensitivity is already excellent in OPMs, but we want better sensitivity to be able to really see signals from deeper in the brain with less noise. And very much, just as importantly, we need to get away from these magnetically shielded rooms. And that partly just comes from getting away from OPMs, because optically pumped magnetometers are, the quantum physics of how they're operated ends up meaning that you want to be at zero magnetic field. And so this shielded room gives you that, but we want to get away from that. Now, in my lab, we work on NV centers in diamond. For more than 10 years, we've been building magnetometers with NV centers in diamond. My background is 25 years of building quantum technology. And so this, I think, is an excellent platform for moving towards MEG. There's a bunch of other great platforms as well, and others that are not listed here. None of these are currently as sensitive as the OPMs, but these are all new technologies, and you immediately, they're very exciting to look into, and as soon as you look into them, you immediately start seeing extra ways to improve the sensitivity and improve the performance. And these are young technologies. The OPM sensors go back 50 years or more, and they've been optimized a lot. These new solid-state technologies have loads of potential to bring in clever tricks and get us down to the incredible demanding specs that are going to be needed for MEG. YIG oscillators, for example, is a really new one. YIG is yttrium iron garnet. This is a ferrimagnetic material. It's exciting new idea. Tunnel magnetoresistance is more familiar, perhaps. You're passing a current through from the top to the bottom of this thin film stack. The current tunnels through this thin insulating layer, and the amount of current depends on the magnetic field. Magnetoelectrics, some people I think here are aware of. This is where you have a piezomagnetic material sandwiched up against a piezoelectric material, and you use that motion to go from magnetic field to a voltage. All these things are sort of roughly at the level of 100 femtotesla per root hertz. So the OPMs have 15 picotesla per root hertz, which is much better, but you see a path with all these things to getting down to below a femtotesla. Some of these, so the OPMs are limited at the level of about 100 attotesla per root hertz, but we see from simple equations about the quantum physics that those limits are more at 1 attotesla per root hertz for some of these solid state systems, thanks to the higher density of atoms. This is some of the work that we've been doing in my lab with diamond magnetometers, and we've pioneered fiber-coupled diamond magnetometry. We've made the most sensitive fiber-coupled diamond magnetometers. We made an endoscopic probe. We drive around on the roads. We've developed tensor gradiometry, which is a more fancy version of vector magnetometry. Postdoc in my lab, Anis Rahman, has developed a new type of readout for these systems, which was thought to be not possible. And so this is the dream. This is an ambitious, exciting dream that we want to deliver on. We want more sensitivity. We want no magnetic shields. We want a wearable sensor. Here's photos of me wearing hats. This is the sort of form factor that we might have. And we've got a breakout session where I'd love to sort of try and get input from this amazing community to try and estimate what specs are needed for a magnetic field sensor array to be able to decode inner speech using magnetoencephalography. I think this could be a good topic for a 10K project. And as a bonus, if you come along, I can show you a nice, pretty pink diamond. But thanks for now, and happy to take any questions.
Now we all want BCIs and wearable with pink wigs on top.
I'm going to ask a complete noob question here. So as a neuroscientist, I know a lot about, say, EEG and what its limitations are. MEG, for me personally, is a newer technology. Tell me what is a feasible, best case? Not pie in the sky craziness. What would you hope to get out of this from a signal perspective? Do you understand my question?
Sure, yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe I'll have a go. You can tell me if I understand it. I mean, so I'd like to, on a 5-year timescale, then I'd like to be beating the OPMs and, having similar sensitivity but without the magnetic shield. Is that the sort of thing you're wondering?
That's a great answer for the technology that you're pursuing. I'm also just a little bit of education. What could I hope for in a best case scenario in 20 years? That's not completely crazy. Yeah, as a neuroscientist, I'm asking for something on my head or to help me.
Well, yeah, so I don't know as much about neuroscience as you guys, but 20 years is such a long time. I think you should be looking to sort of have inner speech decoded with MEG with a wearable device before then. But that's what I want to find out from this workshop from you guys is how feasible that is from the neuro point of view.
Can I just make a comment? I think that gets to David's question. The hope here is that you just get deep structures non-invasively that you can't get with EEG. Right? I mean, that's the high level hope.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so the EEG signals get blurred as they come out of your head because your flash is conducting, but the magnetic signals don't. And so if you have enough signal to noise, then the magnetic signals can escape from deep in your brain without getting blurred out.
Do you think in 20 years' time you can have physics-wise and space-wise you can have enough density to match intraport ECOG high density or right level of spatial resolution?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're non-invasive, then you're always going to be a bit limited by the fact that you're standing off from the brain, and so I think maybe just having 1 millimeter sensing volume on the skull is I think you're not going to benefit necessarily from spatial resolution wise from going better than that.
Last question over here.
Well, yeah, that was actually my question. Was do you think this will eventually get to single neuron level spatial resolution?
I think physics might forbid that from just being on the skull, because you're going to sort of inevitably inside the skull. Sure, yeah, I don't see why not, but yeah. Oh well, yeah. It's all about the standoff. Like if you're like 3 millimeters away from something, you're not gonna get sort of 1 micron spatial resolution unless you have some tricks. Never say never. You know, if someone has some clever trick, then seriously, like, you know, maybe if you can turn off sensitivity to some other neighboring neurons, you know, like there are amazing tricks. People have guide stars for astronomy, and then they beat the you can do super resolution, you know, in microscopy. You can beat diffraction limits. You can beat things that people thought were a limit, but it always takes a new idea.
All right.